pandemic has spread faster than any disease in modern history.
Angry mobs roam the city, burning buildings.
Authorities are bracing for more rioting tonight.
He was knocked unconscious yesterday.
A citywide emergency has been declared.
The CDC has quarantined the lower Midwestern region of the U.S.
Commitment, honesty, integrity, these are the core values that create the foundation for Umbrella. It's this foundation that will continue to build a brighter future for all of us.
Resident Evil 3 Remake. Now this game was good, but it is extremely short. Like, before I had purchased it, I had read online, some of the reviews, and it got kind of hated on. Not because the game's bad. Like, this Resident Evil game is phenomenal, and it feels just like Resident Evil 2 because it's on the exact same engine. And you can tell that there was just so much of the area as well. Like, you run into the same police station as Resident Evil 2 for a little bit, and there's a lot of area there's a lot of overlap, so you can tell they used a lot of Resident Evil 2, what was there already within this game. But it is just so short. Like, took me less than 5 hours of playtime to beat this game. Like, that short. So I can definitely understand why it got kind of hated on. But I did not hate this game. I mean, if I bought it for full price right at release, like $60 or whatever it was, $80, I'm not really sure what it was brand new, because of course I got it a few years later and on a super good deal from Amazon, which was like, I think I only paid like $24 for it on Amazon. Like, it was on sale when I got it. And it's just, if I paid full price for this game, yeah, I would have been pissed. I would have been so upset because of how short it is, right? But because I got it for under $30, I really enjoyed it. It was a great game for $30, under $30, I guess. But yeah, if I paid full price for this game, or if you ever see this game at the store and it's full price, or even over $40, like $50 or something, don't get it. It just feels like it should have been an expansion of Resident Evil 2 Remake. Anyways, now that's enough for rambling about what was wrong with the game, which is literally just the length. There's nothing wrong with this game. Phenomenal Resident Evil game. It feels just like Resident Evil 2. It looks just like Resident Evil 2, which is a gorgeous game. The remake, of course, is what I'm talking about. And there was a lot of references to Resident Evil 2 Remake, which is really cool. I thought it was so cool. Like, you see the cop that you end up getting stuck in the police station with. He's in this game, and you see when he gets bit. So this game is actually a prequel. Like, the events in this game happened before Resident Evil 2 Remake. And so that was really cool to kind of see a few characters that you run into in Resident Evil 2 that you see them in this game, and you get a little bit of a different view on them, you get to see them in a bit of a different light. So I think that's really cool. Here's the spot where the cop gets bit. So that's the exact same cop as you're stuck in the police station with Leon in Resident Evil 2. So that's when he gets bit. And yeah, so I just thought it was really cool. They kind of tied them together, and obviously the events of this game happened just before Leon shows up in Raccoon City. So I just thought that was really cool that they tied a few different things in. And even though you are playing as different characters in Carlos and Jill, you still get that feeling that it's connected, obviously. So I really enjoyed that. The story was awesome. It's just, they get you right into the thick of things, right into the action. There's not much of an introduction. you are just sitting in your apartment as Jill, and then you get a phone call to get the hell out, and next thing you know, Nemesis is knocking down the whole apartment building. So then you're right into the action. You're out on the street, and yeah, so there's really no introduction hardly at all. It doesn't really run you into much of an introduction. This game kind of suspects that you know what's going on, which also makes me think, maybe they actually planned on it just being an expansion to Resident Evil 2, released as like DLC or something, but I don't know. You guys can let me know if you ever heard any rumors, or if they ever talked about it, and if it was actually planned to just be an expansion. But still, nonetheless, phenomenal game, and the gameplay is very, very similar to Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I found that I really, really liked Jill as a character. As you guys know from my past couple Resident Evil videos on Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 4 Remake, I still consider myself a Resident Evil newbie. Those are the only 2 games I've played, Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 4 Remake, and that is it. So to play Resident Evil 3 Remake, I really, really enjoyed it. Jill is a badass character, definitely gonna be one of my favorite characters in the whole series. I just already know that. Like Leon, I still think I slightly like better than Jill, but Jill was still a phenomenal character. So a lot of the guns in this game are very, very similar to Resident Evil 2. So you have your pistols, and then you have your assault rifle as Carlos, and yeah, the guns are very, very similar. They feel the same, they shoot the same, and there's not really a whole lot to touch on there. You also have your same hand grenades and flashbang grenades, so for the most part, all your weapons are the exact same as Resident Evil 2 Remake. But in this game, I guess the biggest, sort of big difference is the Stalker, Nemesis.
Nikolai, what are you doing?
He shows up everywhere, and he is the main villain in this whole game, obviously, and he literally just keeps coming back, so he's a major part of the story. You think you defeat Nemesis, you have a boss fight with him early on, and then next thing you know, he shows up again, and he's on the subway, and he's taking down your subway. So then you run into him again. After the subway, you think he's defeated. Nope, he shows up again, and he just keeps changing forms. He keeps changing forms all the time. So Nemesis is a huge part of the story, just keeps showing up and you keep having to battle him, and that's kind of the main story of this game, honestly. You're trying to escape Raccoon City and get the vaccine to cure everyone, but Nemesis keeps showing up and keeps making it hard for Jill and Carlos to actually get the vaccine and get out of the city. Not to mention Nikolai, he's just a pain in the ass in this whole game, right? Like, he's just got nothing. He's not worth anything. He just shows up and he makes things difficult, and that's his part in the story of this game as well. He's just making things a little bit more difficult than they should be, and yeah, so that's Nikolai for you. Now, although this game was extremely, extremely short, I did really, really enjoy playing as 2 different characters and bouncing between Carlos and Jill, because they're kind of on their own different story at times, going on through different parts of town. And yeah, I just thought it was nice to bounce between the 2 characters and get to see both of them from their own perspective, and see them come together as well. Like Carlos saved Jill here, and yeah, I just thought it was really, really cool to see them have 2 characters and you bounce between both their stories. So I think, I could be wrong, but I think Resident Evil 6, you kind of bounce between a bunch of different characters in that game. Could be wrong, haven't played it yet, so once I get there, then I'll know. But I know that Resident Evil 5 is a co-op game, so I definitely want to play that game a little bit more. I started playing it a little bit, but I would like to play it. Resident Evil 5, I've heard, is kind of corny in some ways, but I still am looking forward to it. But yeah, then at this point in the game, back to the Resident Evil 3 talk, at this point in the game, you start to see Nemesis transform and turn into something horrific. Like, he looks brutal. So yeah, he started out as this man-like creature, and now he just looks like some weird, I don't know, giant zombie monster-looking thing. So yeah, he just keeps changing forms and keeps coming after Jill the entire time. And yeah, so that is Nemesis and his little wrath on Jill. So at the end of the game here, again, Nikolai shows up, steals the vaccine, and then leaves Jill to fight Nemesis again. So Nikolai kind of doesn't really have much parts in this game, but the parts he does have, like I said earlier, he just is a bit of a pain. He shows up and he makes things more difficult for you. So that is Nikolai. He's kind of a awful character. Good awful though. Like, they did a good job writing for him, because you hate him by the end of the game. Absolutely hate this guy. But that is his job as one of the enemies, right? As one of the villains in this game, is to make you hate him. And obviously they did a good job writing for him and voice acting and everything in the cutscenes, because I sure hated him by the end of the game. Now, this isn't quite the final fight with Nemesis, but it's still a very, very good boss fight nonetheless. I mean, all the Nemesis fights I didn't find very difficult. Now, it could have been that I was also just, like, I just play on normal difficulty, regular difficulty. I don't play on the hard difficulty. But, yeah, I found these Nemesis fights really not very difficult. Like, this one, you just keep blasting Nemesis with grenade launchers and you're good to go. He just goes down and you dodge his little attacks here and there with your little strafe that you can do. I can't remember if you were able to do that in Resident Evil 2. I thought that was something they added in this game, was that little dodge that you can do where you kind of just do a little quick shuffle away from an enemy to dodge your attack. But I can't remember off the top of my head if that was in Resident Evil 2. For some weird reason, I don't think it was. But anyways, yeah, this fight with Nemesis, not too hard either. By the end, once you've done enough damage to him, then Carlos ends up taking him down. But this isn't the end for Nemesis. He shows up again, and at least the next time he shows up is the last. And then you finally get to see Nemesis's final form that he's transformed into. And yeah, that's the end of Nemesis. That is the end of the game. But yeah, Nemesis is a huge part in this game. Like, Mr. X shows up, every once in a while in Resident Evil 2 Remake. Like, he just showed up kind of partway through the game, and then he just shows up randomly. And he's here and there, and then you have the few occurrences with Mr. X, and then you got the final fight against Mr. X. And he's not like a huge part of Resident Evil 2, whereas in Resident Evil 3, for the entire 4 hours and 40 minutes of playtime that I played through, I would say, like, honestly, an hour or to like an hour and a half was me fighting Nemesis, or actually, honestly, maybe even if you want to stretch it out, it's like half of this game is either running away from Nemesis or fighting Nemesis. So he's just a huge part in this game, and that's another reason why it kind of just felt like an expansion, is because most of this game is just fighting one enemy, multiple different boss fights against the same enemy, and then yeah, it's just, yeah, I would have been, like I said earlier in the video, I would have been very upset, and I totally see where all the criticism came from with this game, in that it is just so short. And it just feels like it should have just been a DLC, like $20 DLC add-on to Resident Evil 2, which they probably could have done. And yeah, so Nikolai leaves you in with Nemesis again. And this is Nemesis's final form, and this is the final battle against Nemesis. So the end is in sight at this point in the game.
Look, just so you know, this is the last fucking time.
I just love all of Jill's little one-liners, same as Leon. That's one thing that these Resident Evil games do well, is the little one-liner quotes and stuff. It's just funny. It definitely adds some humor to these games, and yeah, I just really, really enjoy the one-liners. I think they're really, really funny. But yeah, like this game, my commentary for this video is also very, very short, because there really isn't much to touch on other than it is a good game. It is a very good game. I highly recommend you guys play Resident Evil 3, but buy it cheap. It feels more like an expansion, and if you are going to try playing Resident Evil 3 Remake, then go into it knowing that you can beat it in an afternoon. Like, you can play it in one day and beat it, and it's not an overly difficult game, and it is a very short game, so just don't go into it expecting your money's worth, like long 10-12 hour game that you're gonna be playing for a few days, or a few weekends if you can only really game on the weekends. And yeah, but it is a very, very good game. It's just, it very much felt like just an expansion of Resident Evil 2, and it is very, very short. So anyways, I'm going to do what I always do with these videos. I'm going to let the end of the game play out here. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next one.
All power sources activated. Powering
You think I don't know how to fuck you up? Come on! Next time, take the fucking hit! Good riddance. Oh no.
You're not going to stop. Promised you this, didn't I?
No! Do you have any idea what you've just done?
No, don't care. My client ordered me to reduce Umbrella to rubble.
10 minutes until missile
Ah.
impact.
The missile has launched. And that is my cue. Goodbye, Miss Valentine. Shame you didn't listen to me when you had the chance.
It's you! Shoot him!
I can't! I'll hit you!
Do it! You have to! There's no other way. Take the shot!
She won't do it.
Carlos!
Hey, when I told you I couldn't leave you in a Carlos's world, that would just be too cruel. What about him?
Why'd you do it?
There's a price tag for everything. Even letting the world burn.
Who are you working for?
I'll tell you, if you get me out of here. I'll pay you whatever you want. You're a fool. You're a fool! If I die, you'll never find out the truth.
I don't mind a little detective work.
Jill, you all right?
There it is.
Finally over.
So long, RC.
I felt empty and cold as the heat from the blast washed over us. All this death wasn't caused by a monster-making virus. It was greed. Human greed. I decided then and there, the ashes of Raccoon City would be Umbrella's ashes too. I would end them, once and for all.